Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Naren, and I'm a part of the Spike Ventures team at Alumni Ventures. I'm excited to talk about enterprise AI today. A little bit of background about me. I started my career as an engineer and then worked at startups and tech companies like Tesla and Apple. Recently, I've been fortunate to invest in a bunch of enterprise AI companies, so I look forward to digging in. We'll start with an introduction on how AI got here today, and then talk about opportunities in the future, some interesting companies to look out for, success factors, as well as some resources to learn more if you'd like. So let's dive in. Every 10 or 15 years, a new technology comes along that changes the way we work and becomes a platform for a whole new suite of businesses. This started in the 1980s with the Macintosh, ushering in a new era of personal computers. Then in the 90s, we saw the advent of the internet, enabling websites like Amazon. In the 2000s, it was the iPhone, a computer in your pocket, with you wherever you go, and a platform for thousands of applications like Uber and Airbnb. In 2023, the new platform is AI, and more specifically, natural language processing, or NLP. This gives computers the ability to understand human language and to converse with us. So how is AI going to transform the enterprise? An analogy that I like to think about is that AI is actually similar to the steam engine. In the same way that the steam engine augmented human muscle-powered transportation, AI will augment the human mind. By giving computers intelligence, we will usher in higher productivity than ever. In this thesis, I'm going to focus on natural language processing and how it's going to change the way enterprises operate, and how we as investors can stay ahead of the trend and invest in the best companies coming out of this platform. But it's first important to understand how we got here. For starters, it's important to note that the concept of AI is not new. Scientists have been writing about giving machines the ability to think since the 1950s. But it was only several decades later that this work actually materialized into something. And that's because of two factors: data and compute. Over the last 20 years, there's been an explosion in the data that can be generated and collected. Data is prerequisite to AI because it helps train the machines to think. Meanwhile, there have also been breakthroughs in computing power that enable the quick processing of this data. This means computers are able to perform calculations faster and faster. In 2017, Google put out a research paper outlining a new architecture called the transformer to help computers understand human language. This became the bedrock of today's large language models like ChatGPT. Models like this have been trained on an enormous amount of data, scraping basically the entire web to uncover patterns in human language and to be able to mimic and understand them. This leads us to today. Today's AI technology stack consists of 5 layers. We think there are venture opportunities in each of these layers, and I'm going to be walking through each of them. We believe any industry operating with text will be transformed because the recent breakthroughs enable computers to understand and ingest large amounts of text. We will see horizontal companies emerge at every layer of the stack, as well as vertical specific use cases. Privacy and security will be critical as well. Now is actually a critical inflection point in the adoption of AI. There's more data and compute than ever. ChatGPT has shown the potential as well as the pitfalls of AI. And across industries, there's been a concerted effort to innovate or be left behind in this AI wave. So starting from the bottom with compute, this layer is responsible for the data processing and comprises chip makers like NVIDIA and AMD, whose products help train AI models and process enormous amounts of data. Without this, none of the other layers would exist. We see two main types of opportunities at this layer. New chip startups that can complete AI tasks. Today, NVIDIA's GPUs are the market-leading chips for the AI trend. But other chips like AI-specific ASICs or programmable FPGAs can potentially perform specialized tasks better. The second opportunity comprises new computing paradigms like quantum computing. Today's chip architecture is designed for classical computing, where a computer stores values in zeros and ones. Quantum computing is a whole new computing paradigm that can solve problems quicker than the fastest classical supercomputer, and we believe it can unlock solutions to a whole new class of problems. We have investments in both of these subsectors. Looking ahead into the future, there are two open questions at the compute layer. The first is, who's going to accrue value? At the time of this recording, we've seen NVIDIA become the newest company to reach the $1 trillion market cap club. But perhaps promising startups can take away some market share in the future. The second open question is around margins. Typically, chip makers have seen lower margins compared to pure software players further up in the stack. But is that going to change given the enormous role they play in enabling the rest of the stack? That remains to be seen. Moving up the stack, we see cloud providers. They consist of AWS, Google, Microsoft, and they offer processing power for the rest of the stack above them. It's tough to compete with these players because a new startup needs to invest in data centers and infrastructure as well as build the software around it. With these companies, they've had the chance to hone these offerings over a couple decades. With the AI trend ushering in an increased demand in compute requirements, more and more revenue will accrue to the cloud providers in the short term, but margins will be squeezed. As a benchmark, the cost of a Google search today is about 5 cents. But a cost of a ChatGPT search is about 30 cents because it requires more computing power to not just display search results, but help answer the user's questions in a personalized way. Cost and energy improvements will be critical at this layer. NLP is still a very small percentage of all the searches on Google, but that's going to increase further and further. These incumbents are increasingly forced to reinvent their own business models. For example, Google Bard is a reaction to the need for more personalized NLP-based search. While incumbents are focused on reinventing their business model, there could be an opportunity for a startup to do the cloud provider's job much better in an AI-native world. So we are actively looking for companies in this area. In the short term, how these startups will accrue value and market share remains a question, so we are keeping our eyes peeled for that. Next is the LLM layer, or foundation models. The leaders in the space are companies that have spent several years and hundreds of millions of dollars training models after scraping basically the entire internet. Here, OpenAI's ChatGPT is the leading consumer player, but we believe that there's a larger opportunity in the enterprise use case, which is why we invested in Cohere, one of the leading players here. If you think about large enterprises today, many have realized that the need to adopt AI for efficiency improvements is greater than ever to stay ahead of competition. The question arises whether they will build their own LLMs or buy from a leading player. Experts are saying that there are only a maximum of a few hundred engineers in the world today that can create a foundation model from scratch. So is it really worth it for an enterprise to invest in building their own model? Perhaps not. It can be incredibly expensive and time-intensive. Meanwhile, there are a bunch of new open source models that are being created and fine-tuned to democratize this technology. So which players are actually going to win in this layer? I think it comes down to three factors: proprietary data, privacy and security, as well as a strong sales team. First, we believe what's going to separate the good and great is going to be access to proprietary data sets to make a model better. Data will increasingly be a moat for LLM players. A model is only as good as the data that's provided to it. Secondly, enterprises could buy access to an off-the-shelf LLM model for their use cases, but privacy is going to be key. Recently, the country of Italy banned ChatGPT for privacy reasons, and so did the company Samsung when an employee tried to ask questions and revealed sensitive company information. We liked Cohere's approach of offering secure multi-cloud offerings to keep the data security paramount. But furthermore, access control within the organization will also be key, and perhaps this is an opportunity for another startup. Lastly, for many companies, providing access to their very sensitive data is something that they would want to do probably only once. The sales cycle is going to be long, the good solutions will be sticky, and this is going to be another differentiator for winners in the space. I think there will be a handful of winners in the horizontal LLM space. I think it takes specific talent, access to proprietary data, and a careful consideration of security and privacy. One thing to note here is that in the short term, players in this layer will have lower margins than traditional SaaS. This is because a large piece of their revenue is actually going to the compute players further down in the stack. On top of the LLM models are enterprise AI tooling companies. ML tooling companies facilitate the AI transition. The machine learning tooling layer began as a layer in the stack focused on making software developers better at applying machine learning models to real-world tasks. Here, it's important to talk about copilots. We believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a new class of AI businesses where every knowledge worker will have a personalized AI copilot for their job that helps them do their job even better. This layer is basically a bunch of ML tools specific to the software developer. There's been a large amount of funding behind vector databases, which is one of 4 ML tooling categories that I'd like to talk about today. An example vector database company is Pinecone. We've all seen the errors that models like ChatGPT make when we ask them factual questions. Vector databases embed words as numbers, making them easier to be searched and retrieved, which reduces the error rate or hallucination for an LLM, as well as improves efficiency. Secondly, we will see a new paradigm like multimodal data management to manage unstructured data sources from PDFs to CAD drawings to emails and images and videos across the enterprise. Thirdly, we will see a rise in autonomous agents. You might have heard of AutoGPT or Baby AGI or LangChain agents. These are early prototypes for systems that leverage LLMs to perform complex tasks through self-learning and goal setting. We've seen companies like Hugging Face, lastly, garner immense traction for their Transformers library built for NLP applications. We think companies like this are well positioned to help enterprises pick the right models for the right use case as these models increase in number and complexity. One key open question in this category is open sourced versus closed source software development. Open source refers to a program where source code is made available for use or modification to users and developers. The arguments for open source are that you can get feedback from the community for features, or you can outsource the enhancement of the tool. However, you lose your competitive edge as a company if all your source code is available for anyone to see. This is why OpenAI started out open source and now is closed source. The other longer-term consideration is that perhaps AI software development will start out open, and as the product becomes more powerful, will need to become more closed source so that it can't be misused in nefarious ways. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the AI application layer. This is new because it requires the other layers in the stack in order to exist. Companies in this space include AV portfolio company Replicant for customer service automation, or Synthesia, which helps you make videos through realistic AI avatars. We believe that every SaaS company will need to become an AI company in the future. AI will become table stakes. We've already seen companies like Salesforce investing heavily behind the generative AI trend. With the existence of Copilots, it's much quicker and cheaper for a startup to evaluate new ideas and build software and minimum viable products to test an idea. So this means that the barrier to entry to start a company and ship a product is lower than ever. As a result, there's going to be a lot more startups, and they're all going to iterate faster than ever. The incumbents will be forced to compete. This creates an opportunity for startups, but more work for incumbents to keep up with the trend. This also means that AI may not be the differentiator between application layer startups. The space is quite competitive at the moment because AI will become table stakes and sort of like a commodity. Unless you have access to proprietary data to enhance your model is going to be similar to other models. This means that understanding a customer pain point and solving a real problem will be more important than ever. Now that we've discussed the layers, I'd like to dive into some of Alumni Ventures' AI investments. We're proud to say that AV has been ranked amongst the top AI investors since we have over 50 AI companies across the technology stack, several of which are shown on the right. I'll dig deeper into 3 of them here today. At the application layer, one company I find fascinating is called Rewind AI, which aims to give users perfect memory through a search engine for your life. The company was founded by a serial entrepreneur. We were fortunate to invest in Rewind alongside leading investors like NEA and A16Z. I mentioned Cohere earlier. They build secure multi-cloud LLMs focused on the enterprise. Multi-cloud is key because in the near term, compute is the limiting factor for LLM businesses. Cohere was founded by an ex-Google brain team, and the CEO was part of the research group that Google that had invented the transformer architecture, the backbone for ChatGPT and other NLP breakthroughs. Lastly, at the compute layer, Xanadu is a world-leading quantum computing company, which is the only company outside of Google to have achieved quantum supremacy. We invested in Xanadu alongside Midas List investor David Cowan at Bessemer, and we are excited to see how they revolutionize computing. Now, since you've made it this far, I have a bonus prediction for you relating to enterprise AI. And this is in regards to vertical AI applications. We've only discussed horizontal applications so far, but there's an opportunity for vertical specific copilots which solve specific use cases better than a horizontal tool could have. This is similar to vertical SaaS. We see opportunities in law, defense, finance, and healthcare, and we've invested across these verticals in promising AI companies that in some cases will cause an antiquated industry to leapfrog from a paper-based era to an AI-based era, unlocking immense efficiency improvements. If you're interested in learning more, tune in to my colleague Catherine Liu's deep dive on vertical SaaS if you want to learn a little bit more about this. So I've talked about AI opportunities across the technology stack, but overarchingly, what are the things that we should look for? First, I'm bullish on opportunities across the AI stack. Second, solutions that solve real customer pain points will be more important than ever. AI for the sake of AI may be cool, but it may not actually create an enduring business. Thirdly, we're always on the lookout for companies prioritizing security and privacy. On the things to be cautious about, I like to ask myself whether an idea is venture backable. The asset class of venture lends itself well to certain kinds of businesses, ones that can achieve rocket ship growth. With the advent of AI, there's going to be a whole suite of new businesses that are bootstrapped and may be slow growing and don't need venture funding. And those are great businesses. They're just not a great fit for the venture model. So it's more important than ever to ask a company why they need venture funding and evaluate that for yourself. Secondly, startups should keep tabs on what incumbents like Google are up to. It's kind of admirable to see how quickly Google reinvented their own offering by launching Bard, reinventing search, just as a response to ChatGPT. Lastly, AI has made it easier to start companies, but it's also important to not boil the ocean. Focusing on a customer pain point and solving it really well is key to product market fit and will continue to be the case. In conclusion, AI will transform the way we work. It will unlock efficiency improvements for companies that dive into AI, and others will simply be left behind. AI is a platform technology, and there are startup opportunities across the entire stack. Lastly, we're still in the early days. It's unclear who's going to accrue value, but it's also a very exciting time to be a venture investor because trillions of dollars of value creation will occur over the next decade. Here are some resources if you'd like to learn more about certain topics that I've covered today. There's AI blogs from investors like Menlo Ventures and Bain Capital Ventures. LinkedIn and TikTok have been an interesting source of consumer-focused tools. The Google Cloud Tech YouTube channel goes in depth into how technologies like transformers work. And I'm also going to plug the Alumni Ventures TikTok channel here because we regularly talk about the new AI trends that we're excited about on TikTok. So that's it from me today. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day.